Well, like, so I did allude to the fact that there was a possibility that I would make a sort of follow up video to the video that I put out this morning pertaining to the UNCRC, purely for the fact that I did spend back known maybe 40 odd minutes rambling by and large. I didn't really have much on the screen to provide, and that's kind of what I prefer to do. I know I tend to ramble a lot, but if I was somebody that watched my videos as opposed to being the one that makes them, I would expect to see more on the screen as opposed to somebody rambling. So I did feel a bit compelled to maybe do a follow up video, but I've ended up in the same conundrum that I always end up in when I've got too much time on my hands, that being where I have about 400 tabs open. Problem being, of course, these days with me using a shit laptop, a pregnant bumblebee could probably muster up more firing power than this laptop can. So have to bear with me in that respect. But my initial plan was to go over what I failed to go over in the initial video, and then I was going to follow that up by going through some of the Twitter pages that I initially set Twitter up for to begin with that I follow, where the types that promote educational resources, etc. Because by and large, the way that it seems to operate in Scotland these days is the teachers, individual schools, etc., they kind of have free reign to pick and choose which resources they wish to promote in the school setting, as long as by the end of the school year, by the end of the term, they have achieved, the overall outcome that's expected of them. How they get to that outcome is up to them. So that's why some schools promote the really grotesque stuff, others don't so much. But by and large, it's becoming a much more prevalent issue, has to be said. But anyway, as I was going through some of the channels that I follow, pages, I should say, that I follow, I went on to Education Scotland's Inclusion, Wellbeing and Equalities Twitter page. Admittedly, haven't been on this in a while, so scrolled down for quite some time and stumbled across something regarding the RSHP website, a website that I haven't been on in quite some time. I did cover the grotesque resources that were provided on that website a long time ago. I think it was actually the Scottish Family Party that initially brought attention to what was being presented on that website, the PowerPoint presentations, etc. It's quite remarkable that they're still there, has to be said. But I do recall covering them myself at some point during that time period. Pretty sure though those videos were gone, as I did have to wipe a lot of videos back in the day. However, I was not aware that they had a new resource. And when I say new, the tweet in question was from March, so probably Richard Lucas has already covered this, and if he has, fair enough. But this is all new to me, and from what I was seeing, I don't know how I feel about it, given the fact that it's targeting children and teenagers with additional support needs, some of whom are classified as having complex disabilities. Anyway, so initially this was promoted on this page, where it says that a new resource for CYP with complex ASN, and initially it was being showcased on an online webinar, eventbrite.co.uk, a website that there's actually two other points of contention that I have with that website, but I don't think I'll include that in this. Anyhow, I might as well just get straight to it. So, new RSHP resource for learners with complex needs. So, click on it like usual routine, and they go out their way to straight away, right off the bat, they call it it's an exciting resource, and it's a new addition to the National Relationship, Sexual Health and Parenthood resource. In this webinar, they will take you through the resource itself and how one special school is already using the materials with their children and parents. The National RSHP resource was developed to help improve the quality, relevance, consistency and coverage of education in Scotland. Since its development, practitioners and parents identified that the resource did not sufficiently cater for learners with complex additional support needs. This new resource is therefore being developed specifically for learners who are from the ages of 3 to 18 with complex ASNs working at pre-early curriculum for excellence level, and support learners in both educational and settings and at home. The resource has been designed to articulate with milestones supporting learners with complex ASNs, progress and planning, curriculum for excellence, experiences and outcomes. During the webinar, they then say they will be highlighting 3 new units in the main resource specifically for young people over the age of 14 who have additional support needs, learners from 14 plus. Alright, so that was then. So obviously, go on to the website itself. When not really much has changed in terms of the layout, but programs and resources to support learners. The main body of the RSHP resource offers learning activities to meet the diverse needs of learners. On occasion, learners with additional support needs, disabilities will benefit from additional or enhanced content. They then provide some free online resources, such as the Autism Toolbox for sexual health conversations, etc. This guidance within this link will be pertinent when considering more able mainstream autistic learners. The website aims to encourage schools to provide positive education. Sexual Health, for RSHP, created by Joanne Barry. It's a workbook containing worksheets designed to assist teachers, parents, etc. RSHP education to young people with learning disability. While some young people may access the programs in school, they may need additional one-to-one learning support. So this workbook is not designed to replace group work or classwork, but aims to complement existing education and build on learning and understanding. There is no single resource that can meet the needs of this diverse group of young people. Some exercises may need to be adapted. Alright, well, I never fucking clicked on that the first time, but I'm curious now. Fucking curious George Floyd. Puberty and sexuality for young people with a learning disability. A pack developed all the way back in 2009. Would you believe? The relationship, or RSHP, for young people with autism. What the fuck, man? Preparing for and surviving puberty for parents and carers, etc. Autism Education Trust. Autism Sex Education is a blog all about the sexuality and relationships, education and autism spectrum disorders, designed to support parents, etc. Stay Safe, Have Fun, a website / app which is designed for young people aged 14 and above. Now, I went onto this website in my previous attempt to record this video, but by and large had to cut out a large chunk due to the fact that images appeared on screen that wasn't entirely sure I was comfortable keeping in, but I just decided to cut the whole video instead. What the fuck? Okay. So this was Sexual Health Central, ASM Workbook, Contraception, Sexually Transmitted Infections, Sexual Health and Wellbeing are services, LGBTI, and of course, fucking hell, man. The resources: harmful sexual behaviour, child exploitation, a workbook, photo stories. I don't know if I should have clicked on that. Yeah, photo stories are resources for young adults with additional support needs. The stories follow 4 couples in different types of relationships, working through how their relationship develops, getting to know each other's risks, etc., etc. Eric and Fraser star. I'm not even gonna fucking bother going through that. You can get to like you're on your own there. No. I don't really think I need to be on this. I'm just gonna try my damnedest to sort of stick to the point if I can. I'm just seeing if there's anything else that really needs highlighted from a quick sweep, but no, it doesn't look like it. But yeah, this website was a bit bizarre, if I'm honest, considering the fact, first of all, it's designed for people that are classified as having learning disabilities to some degree, and it's called Stay Safe, or Be Safe and Have Fun, designed for 14-year-olds and above, and then you've got, I don't know, who's this app for, etc. And then you've got the ability to listen to what the text says, and the fucking photo that they provide is a kid with Down syndrome, which kind of unsettles me to a certain extent when you see some of the shit this website actually provides. Are you age 14 or older? I am 14. I know, right? Okay, just gonna do this quickly. I'm not going into the same depths that I went into last time, let's just say. But just to give you a bit of an idea, tell us what you think. Watch and learn, sex and drugs, how to say no, sex and alcohol, someone wants to have sex with you, you want to have sex, choosing contraception, you want to kiss or touch someone, Find out about sexual activity, the truth about consent, masturbation, private spaces, age to have sex, public spaces, our bodies and words. One of these tabs, I can't recall if it was this one. Fine. Yes, there we go. I'm not clicking on fuck all this time though. There are lots of different sexual activities you can share with a partner. Remember, always ask for consent first before you try them. Why the fuck is this even being talked about? Why is this being presented as something that somebody who's curious about the world of sex, etc. We're talking about kids with learning deficiencies here though, but nonetheless, you know, they're just openly talking about anal and dildos and masturbation, etc. These are things that should not be getting promoted. We have gone so far past the point of birds and bees talk to LGBT or gay sex and out of wedlock sex and to drug-induced or drink-induced sex, etc. to now promoting additional methods in the pleasure department, shall we say. And by and large, it's got fuck all to do with schools. By and large, it's got nothing to do with the people that provide the resources for said schools. But this is the progressive society that we live in here, in Rainbow Unicorn Land. And it's not limited to Scotland, admittedly. But it's Scotland that we live in, or I live in anyway. Therefore, it's a Scottish issue that I feel needs to be addressed. I don't really give a fuck if this has been talked about in Zimbabwe until this is sorted out here. Shouldn't be getting talked about anywhere though, just to be clear. But you got vaginal sex, sex toys, anal sex, and oral sex. You know, great to see the promotion of that. You know, even going to talk about fucking sex toys. Great, fantastic. But that, I just wanted to show you that. Coming out of that now. Then we got BBC Animations. This series of short animations deals with a number of issues including personal space, body hair, wet dreams, masturbation, inappropriate touching, courtesy of the BBC. That's great. Fantastic stuff. Online porn and illegal content and easy read guides. For older teenagers and adults, a tool for education and providing information with explicit cartoon generated images. This guide is developed by Care Management, etc. I mean, why do you need to provide explicit cartoon imagery to talk about porn? Why not just not talk about porn at all? That's a suggestion. But no, of course not. Oh, fucking what? Get the... No. No. Online pornography and illegal contents. An easy read guide. Warning, the images in this document show sexual activity in detail. Some images show violence. Oh, what the fuck? Okay. The Family Planning Association believes people should be able to express their sexuality as long as this does not result in harm or the exploitation of others. This includes pornography, so we're not trying to talk people out of masturbation. It's not healthy for boys anyway. It leads to a plethora of issues, especially if it becomes an issue in terms of overdoing it, so to speak. Nah, we're not going to talk about that. We're just going to say that, by and large, do what you want. As long as you're not harming anybody. What about yourself, though? What about the harm that it imposes upon the person? I have to be very careful what I can show, because obviously the imagery. But one other thing that I've noticed as well, absolutely every single pornographic-esque type picture included within this PDF is mixed race people. It's very strange, just you're promoting interracial sex and whatnots and porn to children and teenagers with mental deficiencies. But anyway, it does say here, issues relating to online porn, addiction, it can encourage unsafe sex, unrealistic expectations, addiction, there's other issues as well though, desensitized, it can lead to premature ejaculation for men as well. And then it goes on to tell you how you can be safe online, change your password regularly, and then it says here, I really don't know how far I can scroll down because there's an image, but it says look at legal pictures. I mean, what the fuck? But anyway, again, that's not really what I wanted to get bogged down in, but anyway, it was interesting nonetheless to a certain extent. Rights-based approach. All learners have a right to an education that meets their needs. Learning about relationships and parenthood is the right of every child and young person. The teaching and learning resource in this resource support our shared efforts as adults and duty bearers in the context of the recent incorporation of the UNCRC. There's the UNCRC again in all its fucking glory. So we can thank the heavens above that the United Nations decided to create a charter that the SNP or the Scottish Government in general have decided to take upon themselves to implement into Scots law. In time, it will be... That's then used as a justification for the people that create the resources for the schools to in turn then to promote to children of all persuasions. It's giving them the justification that they require to start, designing fucking grotesque and questionable resources. All under the guise of RSPH, apparently. Yeah. Who the fuck told these people to start providing resources and information on dildos and anal, etc.? Don't really see how that's in any way required, but yeah. More about how the resources are organised. There are 3 thematic units in which you will find the main booklet, detailed approach to learning. In each theme, you will also find PowerPoints or activities as detailed in the booklet. Then you will find other content created by external providers that might support your work, yada yada. So this is obviously, you get sexual intercourse, contraception and condoms, and porn again. If you work with learners with complex additional needs, learning at pre-early level, you may also want to check out materials on this page. And it was this page that I did inevitably come on to, if I recall correctly. I've got, as I said, about 499 tabs open at this point now. But, yeah. It's, so just to clarify, I can't even recall if I've read this or not. I'm losing the will to live here. But just to put it into context, that the content in this unit offered here is intended for educators, etc., providing relationship or RSPH education for learners with complex additional support needs. They are learners in terms of curriculum for excellence, are learning at what is described as pre-early level, alright? And they are described as having, a complex, one or more complex factors or multiple factors that are likely to continue for over a year potentially. A rigorous, clearly bounded and universally accepted definition is extremely difficult to articulate because of the many factors and impact of specific context in which the learner will live. Right? So it just goes into a bit of detail here about the struggles and whatnot and the things that you might need to do in terms of adaptation, etc. But then you get 9 thematic units here. My body, puberty, personal hygiene, gender, relationships, personal space, masturbation, consent, pregnancy and parenthood. So masturbation, I clicked on at one point, straight away. Learning together about masturbation. Well, isn't that a fantastic title to have as a resource designed for children with complex ASNs, additional support needs? And it goes on to say something that I have not seen since back when I had covered that grotesque PDF that the WHO punted out some time ago. As it says here that the unit called masturbation is part of our program of learning called relationships, RSPH. When we do our education, we focus on the needs of each and every learner in the classroom. We want to develop their communication, cognitive and physical, and sexual health and independent skills. It is a normal part of a child's development that they find it soothing or comforting to touch their genitals. That's what the fuck it says, like. When children are young, we usually try to divert them from this behaviour if it is done in the sight of others or in public. For typically developing children, there will be opportunities to pick up messages about this behaviour directly from adults or from peers. As children grow, they then reach puberty. It is also normal for them to continue touching their genitals to be pleasurable. And so we might begin to think of this behaviour as masturbation. For children and young people with complex needs, the messages about what is acceptable and what isn't when it comes to touching one's genitals are not so easily understood. While this might be a difficult or embarrassing topic for adults to talk about or to support the young person to learn about, it is an important part of helping protect children and young people. Now, I understand the idea behind maybe trying to talk a child with a plethora of issues out of touching his or her genitals when they're in a public setting and they're about 5 or 6 years old, if they've got a bizarre habit of doing that. But by and large, that's the parent's responsibility, not Pete the fucking teacher. Sorry to tell you that. However, it then says that the learning activities in the unit called masturbation suggest ways that adults can divert children and young people from soothing behaviours that include touching their genitals. Then when young people are older and they masturbate for pleasure, the activities will help them learn where and when it is okay to do so. I mean, what the fuck? This learning will help them stay safe from abuse and also from any misunderstanding that the behaviour is dangerous or a danger to others. With the right level of support and resource, children and young people who take part in activities as part of the masturbation unit, I mean, what the fuck, man, to accept the redirection when they self-soothe or masturbates. The masturbation is okay and should only be done in a private place. A private place is the young person's bedroom. Fuck, Jesus, man. That no one else should watch them to indicate to an adult if they are upset. I mean, fucking hell, man. Oh, well. Just bizarre. The whole thing is bizarre. Really, truly is bizarre. But there was something else as well. Stories and visual aids. Where can I touch myself for boys? Where can I touch myself for girls? Touching myself. Where can I masturbate or when? For boys. I mean, what the fuck? Fuck. It's a social story, boys version, pages 13. It's free, so okay. When can I masturbate? What? Nah, fuck the fuck. Oh, come on, like. No. No. I mean, the description is puberty can be a difficult time for teens and parents. Parents find the time challenging as they have to explain the changes that are taking place, appropriate social skills, and help the teen cope with changes. As part of our puberty section, we created What is Masturbation? The book touches on a few topics. What is it? What happens when you do it? And what are your private parts? And inappropriate touching as well. We would suggest teaching masturbation is okay in your bedroom, only if your child will not be able to differentiate their bedroom, bathroom or shower to a public one. Hope this book helps. The book is available in the girl and boys version. The story's the same, and it's free. Social story can be used as part of a reading program or a behavioural management program. It's a great resource, yada yada. Well, that might very well be a quote great resource, but again, this has got nothing to do with schools. I just find it fucking peculiar, absolutely peculiar. When can I masturbate booklet? The booklet is clear and easy to understand. I would like there to be pages about cleaning up. I mean, what? Nah, come on. I mean, there's borderline nonsense at this point, is it not? I don't even know. I don't know what to say. I mean, fundamentally, this has got fuck all to do with schools. It's got nothing to do with RSHP. It's got nothing to do with the people that provide them with the resources. I don't know where this became a consensus that this needed to be taught. Just because a child has complex issues, it's got fuck all to do with the teacher that is there to teach. A masturbation story, and it's £2.50. Fuck off. I mean, I don't know. What the fuck? A social story for children who are masturbating or touching themselves in public. The story aims to be understanding and positive and not make the child feel like they are being reprimanded, but rather to explain that although that they have been doing, what they have been doing is okay. So let me clarify that, or clear this up. The paragraph starts off by saying it's a story for children who are masturbating. Then it concludes the paragraph by saying that although what they have been doing is okay. Oh, what the fuck, like? The point of the story is to use a patient and reassuring tone to teach children about social situations. It can be useful for any child who is struggling to understand it, or a situation or concept, or needs help to understand a social skill or social cue. So the book should be used over and over to reinforce the point. So I would suggest either putting the pages into a display book or laminating and binding them. Clip art images courtesy of another group of people I don't wish to know. What the fuck, man? I swear. It's fuck. Be careful, Things Tom likes. A book about sexuality and masturbation for boys and young men with autism and related conditions. Same thing applicable for girls. They're books, of course. That's good to know. Family planning. Right, okay. Just wow, really, again, it's from this sexual health company. So this is $14.99. No way. A DVD-ROM for people with learning disabilities or growing up. Yada yada. Nah, yeah, you're quite alright. You're quite alright. It's good to know though that they're being inclusive, like genuinely inclusive across the board, because in a lesser sadistic fucking subject matter when it comes to gender, for example, it doesn't matter, irrespective of whether or not you're classified as having complex issues or not. You can be rest assured that feminism will find its way into the resources. And here it is again, as it says, third paragraph down, that learners with complex additional support needs, as we describe and understand these learners, will not have the capacity to understand that society can stereotype or discriminate against or limit a person based on their gender. However, all children and young people will experience the world around them and could face limitations or stereotypes based on who they are. We adults can challenge this and support them to live life to the full, be the boy/man or girl/woman they want to be, whatever. We can do this by buying toys or clothes that the child likes or needs rather than things that are for girls or for boys, resisting buying clothing that is overtly for boys or girls. This is especially true for girls who might not be able to play, get messy or have fun in clothes that are restricted. It's always about the girls, you know what I mean? It's always about the girls. Introducing both boys and girls. Do they genuinely think that girls don't get involved in the same sort of activities that boys get up to in school, etc., because of the fucking clothes that they wear? You know, I mean, yeah. They're so hell-bent on insisting that it's stereotypes that are creating the differences between boys and girls. They refuse to accept, even acknowledge that it's a potential possibility. I mean, it's a fact, realistically, but, we're not at that point yet with the feminist whack jobs, but they're not even at a point where they can consider that maybe, just maybe, these differences are biological as opposed to stereotypically imposed upon them. However, as a result, this is the sort of shit children have to endure as they try to stop these stereotypes from persisting. What is it, sorry? So for every child, we adults can think of a creative and art-based play, indoor and outdoor, building and making, rough and tumble, quiet and contemplative. Introducing both boys and girls to all sorts of experiences and play, taking on board what they prefer, like, and manage in terms of the sense and experience. Right? Again, no. So it's the same sort of point I made in the previous bullet point. Again, you think that children or boys and girls do what they do and participate on average in specific things when they're of a young age or in a school setting because of what they get introduced to. That's not how it fucking works. Jesus Christ. You could put a Barbie, for example, or a rake of stereotypically girly toys, like a toy kitchen, etc. I don't know. I want my girls, the fuck knows what they had, but you could put all these sort of toys in front of a wee boy, and then at the other side of the room, put a rake of, toy cars, etc. In a box. And you give that wee boy enough time, eventually he will veer towards the box that's stereotypically boy associated. Just that's what happens. If they did the same experiment with fucking monkeys, right? And the same thing was showcased. Female monkeys or chimpanzees even kind of favoritized. Dolls, more compassionate, etc. Whereas the boys, the monkey chimpanzees, were more fascinated with the toys that had wheels, things that they could do with their hands. It's not a fucking stereotype. Encouraging all children to be caring and kind, as well as encouraging and supporting friendships with boys and girls. It's funny because this is all very, very similar to what the children suggested the Scottish Government take on board when it comes to whether or not they should start to tackle gender stereotyping in schools. Very strange, that. With the right level of support and resource, children and young people who take part in activities as part of the gender unit, and the masturbation unit, oh, this is great stuff, will learn that they are male or female, but they will also learn that gender and sex are two separate issues, that familiar people are male or female. You will find the unit on gender, here. Oh, okay. Am I ready for this? Like, oops, that page can't be found. Well, isn't that strange? Very, very strange. Let's have a quick look. Masturbation. That's just fucking weird, man. Relationships, gender, personal hygiene, puberty in my body. Don't know. Quickly have a look at this, I suppose, for a call it a day. Half an hour long now. Personal space. Let's see. Touching. Different types of touching. Who can I kiss? I can keep my hands to myself. Hugs. Looking at others' private parts. What the fuck? What the fuck? Okay. £2.50 for that as well. A story for children who are pulling down trousers or lifting skirts. It explains what is meant by private parts and how it makes other people feel if you look at their underwear, etc. Okay. The point of a social story is to use a patient and reassuring tone to teach children about the social situation, yada yada. Alright, sound. And that's a sort of like understandable scenario, as few and far between as I would like to think. These scenarios occur when there's a sort of child that continuously does that, but just when I initially seen that resource, the way that it was titled and whatnot, to think, it's just an everyday part of the education. You have to sit down and get taught that shit. Songs. Oh, fucking. This is my bubble. No. Not even going to indulge in something that's probably going to weird me out. Consent. Right, okay. Relationships. I've got to call this ahead, I think, at some point, but Jesus Christ. Exploring sexual and social understanding. Another resource. £30 fucking pound. Yeah, they're asking a bit much of these educators, are they not? So not only are these educators in these settings expected to some degree, take heed of what's promoted on this website to in turn then, start to educate the complex learner in their care, but they're also, I presume, expected to pay for some of the resources. What the fuck, man? Wow. But yeah, I don't know how I feel about some of this shit. It's very odd. Very, very odd, if I'm honest.